Wonder who wrote the book of love. Tell me, tell me, tell me the book of love. Oh, yeah, that's right, I hit live, didn't I? Whee! So, just a few more seconds, and I'll be showing my goofy little face on screen. Yeah. Oogity boogity. Okay, so I live. Yes, I live. That's a little desk lamp I use for when I'm painting. Okay. So, tonight will be pretty much, I'm going to be sculpting a figure for one of the people in my D&D game, and he's going to be a dual wielding ranger. You know, it's going to sound odd. He's got a wakizashi in one hand and a cutlass in the other. They both technically count as short swords. So, dual wielding short swords. Yeah. So, right now finding out if he's going to want to be in the audience or not. Excuse me. And of course, we had to have a Carlton make an appearance. Oof! What are you doing? You little insane fuzz bucket. Besides, no, see, I'm supposed to kiss your head. You're not supposed to use your head to get a kiss. You little crazy. You little crazy cat. So, Carlton, are you going to leave me be for right now? Let me go ahead and do my show? With that rumbly little purr. Go, 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 go. Yes. Reach a hand. Okay, well, let me put you down so I can do my show. Go on. Good boy. Yeah, Carlton is a very, very affectionate little fuzzball. So, anyway, what's this? Yeah, sorry, I had a distraction there. Now, this is going to be a rather, lots and lots of tunic and surcoat and jacket and a couple other things and twin swords, ranger. I actually have it's going to be a little difficult to do some of the detailing on his face simply because the hairstyle he chose is little, excuse me, a little unusual. And it looks like we're not going to have them in the audience. Oh well. Well, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pop over to Dad's studio. Whee! Don't you just love that effect? And then just to show you, this, move him. This is the face, oh, and that's the body that he gave me as reference pictures. And even though the body is carrying bow and that, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to go ahead and just make sure we get the strappings and that. And, like, you know, he's got a tunic, he's got a jacket over it, and then he's got that down below. So, actually, I need to go ahead and move it back over to the side so I can be checking on it without. Okay, so we have our jointed base mail. Yay. Merp. Clothing is going to start with, it's actually going to be long coat base and a tunic skirt. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the long coat base, and we're going to make the thighs go out to the side, just to make sure. That's not going to. Actually, no, I'm going to do it another way. I'm going to get that long coat another way. Delete long coat. And I'm going to give him the breastplate, not for wearing a breastplate, but just to cover up, you know, smooth that over. I need to make a better smoother, but for right now, that's what I got. And then props. Like I said, I'm going to put a quiver on his back, because he is an archer. No, I'm not. I'm going to take that off. When you're loading props in, for those who have these files, make sure you have the figure selected, or it won't parent properly. So what he's going to have is he's going to have a cutlass in his left hand, and the wakizashi in his right. We're going to shrink the wakizashi just a little bit because it is a little, well, first, back view, zoom in, and let's move his, oh, that's the one, yeah. Let's move the center. Right view, bing. Okay, that's just because we want to make sure that it stays in place when we shrink it. There we go. And just in case, let's go back to the back view, and it needs to come up like this. There. Perspective view. And there we have our two weapons for our ranger. And he is a human. He is probably the only human in the party, as far as I know. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I just realized. Okay. So, first things first. He will probably have facial hair, but the thing is, the level of facial hair that has can probably be done with a wash. I'm going to give it just a very hint of it. Very hint. Now, as I go to hide his cutlass and wakizashi. Did anyone else go ahead and waste $3 to get a very basic Mega Millions ticket just in case for that $1.6 billion prize tonight? $1.6 billion for a 1 in 300 million chance. I'll go ahead and toss $3 that way. Why not? I won't get it, but there's that infinitesimal chance. Okay. Now, pose. He can have any pose he wants. Well, let's see if do I have any basic poses here that are good for dual wielders that I haven't already used. Like, I've already used dual wield Triumph. If I go ahead and give him stand 01, what's that? Yeah, that's good enough. And let's make sure I have the props hands proper. No, the hands are not properly rated for props. So we're going to go ahead and load great swords into each hand because it'll be easier to remove. Great sword left hand, great sword right hand. Right click, delete. There we go. And what we need to do now is we need to select the hip, because this particular pose, he's just... Oh, yeah. If I forgot. Front view. Forgot to pin rotation and pin translation. Yes. Now this one. Pin translation, pin rotation. There we go. Now we go to the top view. Select the hip and move it back a little to be more even over the feet. Now we go to front view. Okay. Yeah, that looks pretty good, especially with the kind of... It gives me room to draw the clothing. Okay, so that's our basic pose for our ranger. So we hide the cutlass and hide everything except for this thing. And this thing, did I ever get around to? No, I didn't. So let's go ahead and object geometry, convert sub D. I don't think I ever did it to this one either. Figure geometry, convert sub D. Oh, it's already got... Okay, I did get around to it. Okay, let's hide it. Now, this is going to be our ranger body. Let's get out of here and go to broadcast miniatures, new. Dual ranger bod. Except... Actually... Oh, I see a problem. There we go. Yeah, that was a problem. His leg was bent unnaturally. Also, I think... Yeah, I thought so. His foot needs to come up a little. Instead of this one. Okay, there we go. And actually, yeah, we need to be tweaking this. There we go. A bit more dynamic. And then let's bring him back this way. And his knee's broken, so we side to side. So we side to side it. Yeah, there we go. Now it looks like a more natural bend for the knee. And then we're going to bend back at the abdomen just a bit to get him to be a more upright stance. Yeah, there we go. That looks a bit more dynamic. And just in case, let me make sure these legs aren't twisted too much. And no, they're not. It's not going to worry about it for the tunic. Okay. And now, front view again, just to make sure I can... And I'm going to raise this leg just a little bit. Okay. And then the next thing we do, oh, yeah, let's re-export this. File, export, dual ranger bod, yes, accept. And we hide him and his map. File, export, dual ranger tunic, accept. And we hide that and make the swords visible. File, export, dual ranger swords, accept. And then we're going to bring him back just for the sole purpose of we need to add in his base. And this guy, since he's a ranger, his base is going to be the grassy one. Now we go to front view. And we're going to kind of bring it down, make sure it... Yeah. Now we're going to the right view. Got to bring it forward. Okay, there we go. And that's our base. Let's hide the swords and the dude. And file, export, dual ranger base. Now the thing is, his name is Ben. And hello, Itsy Bitsy. Well, hey, there's a lot of people who threw in $3 on my dream. Go figure. But we're going to pop on over to here. Import. And from Broadcast Miniatures, new Dual Ranger bod. And draw him in there. Edit. And then a frame to make him fit the frame. Then we're going to append the other bits. Polymesh 3D, import, Dual Ranger tunic. Append, Polymesh 3D, click on it, and import, Dual Ranger swords. Append, Polymesh 3D, click on it, and import Dual Ranger base. And here we have that. Now we're going to hide swords in the base, and we're going to do a couple things just to make sure this will be easier. For example, well, actually I'm going to hide that tunic too. I'm going to come in and start doing some shaping on the face. It's not going to be really easy and it's going to be quite subtle, but if it works, it works. Yay. One of the first things is I'm going to go to Move Topological. Oh, and let's go ahead and open this for when it comes time. But I'm going to come in here to the face. Shrink the mouse quite a bit and just start moving up. And now, looking at the face, we can already see we need to change a few things. First of all, we need to make the nose narrower at the top and slightly wider at the sides. And not as long, thick up here and not as long here. Oh, that was too big. And then I'm just gonna shrink it a little bit and reduce that intensity quite a lot, and break open the tablet and smooth out here a bit. And a little bit of inflate, just a very faint. The problem is how far do you go before it starts becoming a caricature? I know you have to make the lips larger to make them visible when printing, but at what point does it stop being to make them visible printing and starts being a bit ridiculous? He has a narrower mouth than most other figures, so we're gonna bring that in. And we look at the picture again. He has really high cheekbones and a relatively narrow jaw. So we're going to go back to our inflate, and we're going to, oh, we need to turn that inflate down. He doesn't have narrow cheekbones, but he has large cheekbones. Wide chin, but moderately narrow jaw. Go back to that move topological. Bring it in. Bring it in. Also seems to have it not quite as high up. And that's probably about as close as I can get before it starts looking like a caricature and not like the actual person. Now, I'm going to divide it a few times. Lower, and we're going to Dynamesh at 768, the usual. And a blur of 0. And Dynamesh. Next is to bring that all the way back up, and at full volume just start going actually all over here too, because the way he's dressed, he's going to have quite a bit of cloth. And then 1, 2, 3. Okay. Move that out. Across here, and actually we need to really do it around the belly, because that's where a lot of the detail is going to be, and the more we can build out without making him look, well, distorted, the better. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to go to the back. We're actually going to do the same thing here, because his back is also going to be covered in multiple layers of cloth. We're not going to worry about a butt crack, because he's going to be wearing that tunic. Okay, there we go. That's good. Now, I'm going to make this bigger, the mouse, and go to, well, no, move. I'm on move. Yeah, I'm gonna. again, so that we can pull more out to the front without having issues. Okay, now frame. Okay, now we load in, or not load in, but make visible this, the tunic. Going to geometry, we're going to subdivide it a bit. And one more, yeah, delete lower. And now we're going to start moving it, well, shrink the mouse and start moving it into the torso so it's not as protruding. And I just had an idea for a future video, and it's one that already exists in multiple sources for this particular program. It's how to make a conforming clothing item, like the jacket, the tunics, etc. The problem is that this is rather specific to my files, or any similar files you make yourself, and this program. Rigging is almost always program specific, as in how you set it up, not as in how it works. There's formats like the FBX file format that can help transfer rigging from one program to another. Okay, now we go up to him, we go to merge, and we merge down. Yes, always okay. Shrink, go back to there, and Dynamesh again. Undo that, and come across the waist. Once, 1, 2, and then here. And then let's make sure we got all of it. Yep, we got all of it. Let's smooth that right there. It needs it. Yeah. And the top of the butt needs to be slimmed down a bit, just because we don't want it to be ridiculous. And right now it's kind of ridiculous with the way the back is bending out. It's exaggerating that. Okay, now frame out, and it's time to start doing the clothing. So looking at it, oh, wrong thing. Looking at it, okay, his boots are pretty much strapped layers of leather. We're not going to worry about that. We do have to worry about his outer green coat with the straps and the lacing, and then below that, this. So what I'm going to do, it's going to be kind of difficult here. I am going to duplicate it. No, I'm not. Oh yeah, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to come here and turn on auto masking, back face mask, and then actually no, this one doesn't need it. It's this one that needs it. And let's draw that focal shift to 0. Now that didn't work. Oh, my mouse is too big. Meep. Merp, merp. In the other room, I hear that most horror of horrors, Mamma Mia. If you like Mamma Mia, I am so very sorry. But I never was a fan of disco, and yes, I'm actually old enough to vaguely remember it. And this is eventually, we're gonna drag this down to be the bit that hangs down on the sides and back. Which does mean we're gonna go ahead and erase it here and here. We're also going to shrink the mouse and erase here. Oh. Shrink it even more because I have to get too close onto that leg. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to handle this with a little trick based on how ZBrush handles scaling. It's not a common trick, at least not as far as I know, but it works for me. And it's not normally something I have to worry about, actually. Anyway, basically what I'm going to be doing is when it scales a subtool, it uses the world center as the joint center. So since this will technically be under the outer jacket, which is going to be our topmost layer, when we shrink it slightly, oh yeah, got to do the front here. Anyway, when we shrink it slightly, what's going to happen is it's going to go in. It's not only going to go inside, it's going to come down, and we will then be able to manipulate it. So we're going to extract it as normal. Draw, select the body, and then draw, just to get rid of the... Now, we're going to Dynamesh at 256, because we are going to want to have some decent edging. Now we go to Deformation. And Size, we go... Oh, well it didn't. Offset, Y. Now I'm going to go ahead, I got it in position. I'm going to use the Move Topological Brush at a much larger size to start dragging it into position, and then we'll smooth it. So for example, this goes into here. And now we're going to have to basically drag it under that. And this also, yeah, just a little bit more. Give it a little bit more of an edge. Because we want a nice distinct difference between these layers when it comes time. Okay, now I'm going to go to inflate, and I'm going to turn on that backface masking. I'm going to hide our buddy, and then I'm going to inflate inside here. Actually, let's increase it. So that ends up basically being a solid connection to the thigh there. And let's drop that intensity again. And alright, I want to be able to see what I'm doing, so I'm going to use transparent. What this does, it makes it transparent, but still allows you to use the mouse underneath. There we go. So what this ends up doing is it allows me to bring this into contact with the leg there, so that it's a lot easier on the printing and on the painting. I can then turn it off and double check it. Yeah, let's increase there, increase there. I'm then going to make it a little bit bigger, and I'm going to increase here just to make it thicker. Because we'll need it thicker when it comes time. It'll be easier to print when it's thicker. But it doesn't matter if I'm talking FDM or resin. The thicker that is right there, the easier it'll be to print. Okay, let's shrink that back. Okay, now not doing too bad. Let's pull up that outfit again. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is this jacket, the green and slash jacket. Then we're going to do the straps. One of the last things we're going to do is underneath the seams for the tunic, the top seam for the tunic. Everything else is going to be, yeah. Okay, so for this jacket, I'm actually going to pull out the whole thing. As you can see from the picture, it doesn't have sleeves, but there are sleeves coming out from under it. So let's go ahead and draw on where it is. Actually, what am I doing? I forgot to do one thing. Divide once. Gives me more detailing on how these go. Actually, no, this needs to be a little bit closer. Okay. A little bit more, just a little bit more here. Yeah, there we go. And now to come around the back of the neck. And then we're going to come down from here. There we go. And I see a ninja, but I don't know if he's going to be coming up to try to play, or if he's going to just go find a place to nap. I hope he's just napping, because I don't like it when he jumps onto the tablet. He's a lovey-dovey, snuggly little kitty, but he kind of screws up the tablet, you know. Gotta clean this up. Okay, now let's bring this back up and continue on with the rest of this, the back of this. Alright, so how many here are big fans of Coco? And I don't mean chocolate, I mean the Pixar movie. Please tell me at least some of you are. Because what I'm about to talk about, just because I feel like talking about it, would be meaningless if you didn't at least like the movie. And you can be answering while I'm trimming up the bottom here. Okay, and down here I need to trim. Beep-a-doo. Oh. And then, yeah, that's good enough. Last thing to do is glare outside the door at the cat that just knocked over a laundry basket. But we can do that. Okay. That's going to be where the jacket is. Okay. The thing about Coco, despite the fact that it has a lot of music in it, do you know why Coco is not considered a musical? Okay. It is a Wacom Intuos, the newest version of the Intuos. You know, Wacom. Wacom. And see, they want you to stick the stylus in here. You know. But it's, as you can see, it's not exactly the easiest thing to work in there. So I slapped together a few 3D models I got from Thingiverse, one of some terrain, another of a Green Lantern thing. Drilled a hole, or not drilled, but created a hole for my stylus, and yeah, that's where I keep my stylus when I'm not actively drawing. Well, it's on my desk if I'm using it, but not actively drawing. But yeah, do you know why Coco is not considered a musical, despite the fact that it's got a boatload of music in it? Okay. Hood is next. Before we do anything, oh, we gotta Dynamesh it at 256. And then subdivide it a couple times till it's... That's good enough. Ignore. And then we're going to shrink this a little bit, and we're going to cut it. Anyway, now that's that. It's not considered a musical because the music is what is known as diegetic. What that means is it's not just all of a sudden a song that occurs, everyone sings along like in your classical musical. It's part of the plot, but in universe they're not singing it, in universe they're talking. In Coco, the music is diegetic. When there's music, they're actively playing the music. It's not just a Disney musical number. That is why it is not considered musical. Because it is diegetic. Not to be confused with Dianetics, which everyone knows is the horrible, horrible thing that is followed by certain sociopathic and psychotic people and certain gullible celebrities. That is the hood, or it will be when I pull out the back of it. And let's draw that. Geometry. Dynamesh. And we're going to leave that as it is. We're going to make it bigger. Because we need to pull this out in the back. And we're going to kind of pull it out a bit more again. Oh, Lord. Have I mentioned how much I don't like Mamma Mia? I think the only reason Mom watches it is because in the 70s she used to go out with some of her friends to various discos in Memphis. Yes, Memphis had a few discos. Alright, now I'm gonna shrink the mouse. What do you mean back in the 90s? Do you know how many times they've sued South Park? And almost every time it was kicked out because of fair use for parody. Even when they showed that one bit of this is what Scientologists actually believe. Yeah. Scientology started as a bet between two sci-fi writers until one of them fell for his own nonsense. Now the reason I did that was so that I can do this. I now have the Orbs Crack brush right here. I no longer have to dig for it in a directory. And let's turn off that lazy mouse. We're gonna That's the primary reason I will never be able to take Scientology seriously, is because I know its origin. The way the story goes, Howard Heinlein and L. Ron Hubbard decided to make a bet when they were talking about alien civilizations about who could design a workable religion. The idea being that it would be used as the religion for a given alien race in a book or something. And, well, apparently, L. Ron Hubbard won. The problem is, when Heinlein showed up to give him the winnings from his bet, which was, by the way, a case of beer. By this point, Hubbard had either fallen for his own line of nonsense, or had realized he could make a boatload of money off of it, and had Heinlein kicked off his property. So yeah. And the thing is, this particular story did not just come from Heinlein, because there was discussion among their contemporaries about that religious bet between them. So, yeah. Anyway, let's change the subject, because Scientology is a very boring subject. Very dry. Very dry. Oh, yeah. Okay. If you don't know, I've got to tell you what the Scientologists actually believe. They believe that billions of years ago, before life had evolved on Earth, an alien empire had a revolution, and the rebels were brought here to Earth and strapped to the base of a volcano. Oh, and apparently the spaceships used looked almost exactly like a DC-10. Anyway, they were brought here to Earth, strapped onto the base of a volcano, and blown to smithereens with H-bombs. And this caused their souls to become angry, and so they stuck around. And now, everyone who's alive is haunted by the souls of these alien rebels. Yeah, that's what I said. And anyway, so their belief is that they can get rid of these alien parasites, and that will solve all of your psychological problems. The problem is that they also believe that psychologists, yes, psychologists, are people whose souls were from a specific alien race that wanted to conquer. And that, therefore, psychologists were evil. Yes, psychologists are evil. Evil, interstellar aliens. Oh, and it gets better. They were called cyclos. Yes, the incredibly goofy alien race from Battlefield Earth are psychologists and psychiatrists. Anyone that does anything psych. Because no one else but these aliens would be interested in how the human mind works. Yeah. And of course the fact is that, the fact that L. Ron Hubbard never liked psychologists or psychiatrists has nothing to do with that. No, not at all. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Oh, and the name of the alien emperor who was the rebels were fighting against? Zemu. And for a sci-fi writer, Hubbard had no sense of scale or numbers, because some of the dates he attributes to various things are literally impossible. As in, he makes a comment about 1.4 trillion years before. Well, guess what? You can't do 1.4 trillion years before, because the universe is only 13.5 billion years old. Okay, we're going to inverse this mask. This is going to make the underside of this right here. We're not going to make it quite as laced, but we're going to give it a little bit of lacing. And let's make it like a inset panel. And we're going to do that by going down here under deformation to inflate and going in just a little. We're then going to deselect it, and we're going to then take our inflate tool, bump it up quite a bit, and we're going to draw our laces. And as you can see, we're going to need to bump up the brush size a notch. Or two. And then hit smooth. Actually, let's polish it one. There we go. And then we're going to draw, like I said, we're going to draw on. Actually, we need to make this bigger. Yeah. That's great. And we're just going to follow these laces again. Leah Remini has a show about how she escaped Scientology and how she came to realize just how much nonsense it was. And it also goes into how they get these people. And the primary thing is they use the same tactics that most cults do. Find somebody who is currently undergoing some kind of emotional weak spot in their lives and prey on them. Convince them that the answer lies with this group. Like I said, just like cults do. And, gee, what a shock. Aspiring actors are prime targets for it because of the stress of, can they do what they dream of doing? Except by the time they become famous actors, like, oh, I don't know, good old, oh God, fun, Barbarello, Vinny Barbarello, Travolta, John Travolta. Don't ask me why I had to think back to Welcome Back, Kotter. I don't know. Bleh. Yep. Now that's the jacket. Obviously, we're going to have to come back. Before we do anything else, I'm going to have to do the chest straps. The chest straps are going to basically have to come off of this base and make them about that big. And also we're going to include the dual belts. So let's start off with the dual belts. The first one is right here. come around and stop hiccuping. This one is going to be with the regular straps, because the other belt is going to have to be a little bit larger. We look at that picture again, and we see at least one. Well, we're going to modify this, but simply because we don't need some of the straps showing. Let's hide that. We're going to start from here and go under. Under here. And then draw from here over to here. Now these are going to be extracted a little bit thicker. 0.033. Extract. Accept. The reason being is because we need them to fit over top of that. And they do. Hey, look at that. That looks kind of cool, doesn't it? Well, now we need to hide them again. Oh, we can show this. And we need to make the other one. And we're going to do that by turning on transparency, making it a little bit broader. Not a lot, a little bit. And coming from here and coming down. And by the same token, we're going to come from here and we're going to come down. And then we're going to blend it down from here to there. And this one is going to be 0.04. Extract. Accept. Draw. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to use the Move Topological tool. Make the mouse a bit bigger. And we're going to pull it out that way. And now we're going to merge down. Let's make sure we come out a little bit. Then we're going to make this even bigger. And pull it in. So that we can make it quite clear that it's still a strap, it's just one that's over top of that one. Okay, now we go to geometry. We're going to dynamesh it at 256. No, we got to dynamesh it harder than that. Let's go ahead and dynamesh it at 768. And that's good enough. We don't need to subdivide it. That's so that we have the seam there. Here. Now, just to show how it looks so far. This is his current state before we do his... Alright, so this means that we're going to have to go ahead and grab the straps and grab down here and pull it out. And the same thing down here. We've got to pull it out simply because we want it to be visible. Now the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and put a gemstone as our where did I put it? There it is. A gemstone as our little buckle here. And we got to make sure that the depth is at 0. Okay, good. Now, the size doesn't affect insert mesh brushes. And we're going to split unmasked parts because these are going to grab here. There we go. Now, this one we're going to have to move and make this huge. We just got to kind of pull it out a little. There. And then we're going to merge down, because both of these need to be subdivided a couple times. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sleeves. Now there's two sleeves that we got to do. The short sleeves and the sleeves to the wrist. Actually, no. We can go ahead and make the part that will make the neck of our tunic. Okay, this appears to be a folded over tunic, so that's what we're gonna that's what we're gonna do, because we want to try and keep it as close to what the drawing is. So we're just gonna do the simple draw like that, draw like that, and then we're gonna put it in like that, and then that's going to be extracted at 0.015. Extract, accept, draw, draw, and now we go down to geometry and dynamesh it. Oh no, we want to dynamesh it at 256. And then before we subdivide, we smooth out the areas that are visible here, and then we're going to move them down so they can't be seen. Or in. Whichever way, we're going to move them so they can't be seen. We're then going to subdivide it a couple times. Delete, lower, and we're going to go to slash. Going to shrink this down. We're going to then draw here. Actually, we need to have our transparency on so that we can draw underneath. And smoothing here. Oh, we need the intensity up to 100, don't we? Yeah. Smoothing here. And then add. Transparency so we can see how it looks. Excellent. And then just to mark the trim, well, just to mark the trim, there. Now let's do the sleeves. As you can see, he's already looking kind of badass. This also might be a relatively long show tonight. Well, this is for one of my friend's figures, so of course I want to make sure it looks halfway decent. And hold on just a second. Gotta hop to make sure that I didn't get a word back from him. Nope. Okay. What? Did I just... Yeah, I did. Okay, good. My screen, for some reason, it collapsed, and I said, you know, yeah. I had an error, and I had static on my screen, so yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and pop back in. And frame. We're making the sleeves. First the shorter sleeves, then the longer sleeves. And actually I want to go ahead and make all of this invisible so I can make sure I can see what's going on. Okay. I see how I'm gonna handle this. Let me go ahead and do that. And then that. No, that's not. Okay, here we go. And then let's start it right here and just draw. And maybe just a little bit higher. Okay, now we're going to extract at point 2. Standard extraction. Accept, draw, and Dynamesh at 128. Then smooth. Whoa. Let's lower that smoothing. Once we get these 2 sleeves on, it'll be time to make the pants or make the boots, because the pants will be just the legs expanded. Once we get the basic smoothing down, just to blend it, we're going to use the move to pull them up, because they're a little low. We're not going to blend these in yet to the body. We're going to wait until we have the other sleeves done, so that we can do them both at the same time. And oh no. Yeah. Okay, now frame. We go back to our little buddy here, And we're going to do the same thing again, but this time lower down on towards the wrist for the other sleeve. So zoom in and do it here. And do it here. Okay, and now we're going to extract it again. Accept, draw, draw. The reason we did these separately is because of this right here. We want to make sure that we can smooth these out without blending them together and without the one sleeve damaging the seam of the other. Not seam, edge. And then we're going to merge down. And we're going to divide until we get it nice and smooth. Then we're going to merge him down. And Dynamesh at 768! Yay! I'll do the Dynamesh. And now we're going to make sure that our smooth is back up to 100%. Shrink the mouse a little and smooth it. Okay. And I think it's about boot time. Then it'll be detailing time. I say detailing time. Let me just go ahead and pull all these up. I say detailing because this part down here, oh, not here, here, isn't cloth, it's armor. So it'll be stripes with some studs. Alright, so boots. Okay, looking at the image, those would be a bit much to do with less than half an hour left to go. Or less than an hour, let's say. Let's go ahead and stay late. And let's bring it over to here and bring it back. Okay, now we're going to draw on our boot fronts. Okay, so now we go straight. Trying to straighten this out is a pain. There we go. And now we're going to extract those. Geometry Dynamic 256, because we want it that way. We're going to zoom in, and we're going to make this bigger and bring it back down to about 20. 19's good enough. We're going to smooth over the bottoms of these. You will note it's taking a lot longer than it normally does with those lower intensity. That's because we're using, there's two factors why. One, we're smoothing a larger surface area, and two, we're smoothing a higher polygon density. Overall, that means more polygons to count and average and factor in and smooth over each other. Both of those things increase smoothing time, increasing the polygon count, or increasing the polygon density, and increasing the area you're surfacing. Basically, if it increases the count, oh, it also helps if we turn it up to full. Doesn't it? Yeah. I was wondering why it was taking even longer than normal. Okay. So what we have left to do, really and truly, is fusing these boots on, wrinkling and making stuff baggy and armory and stuff like that, and the hair. And as usual, while I'm smoothing, I'm using the mouse instead of the Wacom, because the whole rattle can versus airbrush analogy, you know. Okay, frame. All of the individual pieces of clothing are on there. Oh, no, they're not. I forgot. Two things. And we're going to use the gemstones again. And that is on here. Split unmasked. And one here. Split unmasked. This one is that. Okay, that's the one we need to move. Well, we need to move both of them, but that's the one we need to move first. And then this one we need to move just a bit. Let's move it down to here. And then let's going to shrink this, because we now need to move it so it's slightly off center. Okay, there we go. That looks a lot better. Just the positioning of those two gems as belt buckles really makes it look a lot better, doesn't it? I keep getting these, it keeps crashing on me. Okay. Anyway, last thing we need to do before we start doing the wrinklies is the hair, and I'm kind of dreading the hair because of how that it is. Alright, so what we're going to do, shrink the mouse. Alright, we're going to draw on where the scalp is. Okay, and then we're going to erase around the ear. Okay. It says I still have 5 people watching, but nobody's talking. And after those, it's crashed on me twice. I need to make sure people are still here. Okay, now that I've dynamished, I need to make sure I forgot to there we go. Now, the smoothing turned down a bit. A brief brush over the hair just to smooth it out a bit. And now I gotta figure out how I'm gonna represent this. First of all, he's got a bun on the back. Kind of back here. And then he's got bits and pieces hanging down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to inflate, put it here, and increase it buttloads high. Then I'm going to subdivide it quite a lot and go back here and continue to a lot smaller and inflate it just kind of erratically just to make it. And I'm also going to kind of draw in some rather erratically placed locks coming off of the head onto the back there. Now I'm going to go to the slash tool and I'm going to emphasize these. I'm not going to do any kind of fine-tuning of these locks simply because they are basically dreads. And as such, are thicker and not individual hairs. By nature, dreads are harder to do. Alright. That's that. Now I'm going to make it go to the orb crack brush and draw in tighter bond. Oh, that's too large. Basically draw in and refine the seam around the bun. Once again, exaggerate that. Yes, that is a thing that I say quite often when sculpting. Exaggerate that. Something that you want to be at least, you know, have hints of from all the way across the table. Now, I'm going to dynamesh it at 512 and subdivide it a couple times. Now I'm going to grab the snake hook brush. Make it a bit bigger, and what this does, this lets us draw out a couple of these strands. And then I'm going to move that one, because that one is kind of sticking out. Then I'm going back to inflate, and I'm going to inflate some of these that came down, just to make sure they have a volume to them, a depth. Some of them didn't, or didn't have enough to really print. Like that one. And some of these I'm going to move. That one. Then I'm going to dynamesh it again and smooth some of these strands. And then I'm going to inflate them. Yeah, I have no idea why it keeps crashing for me. But yeah, anyways, pop that down. Pop that down. We want it to be large enough to print well. And it's down here. Kind of bring it in. Okay, now we're going to frame out. We have everything except the details. Okay. I'm going to subdivide it a couple times. Yeah, delete lower. Now, subtool. We're going to start off on him, on the main dude. And we're going to make these relatively simple details, because with as many layers as he's got, it doesn't need a huge amount of detail. So we're going to start off, just going to draw on bigger. We're going to draw on some wrinkles from the underarm. We're going to do the same thing in the back. Then we're going to draw on some wrinkles in the underarm, or under elbow, and a couple there. I'm going to switch to sub real quick and draw under these wrinkles. Okay, and that's the shirt. We're not going to add wrinkles to the vest. It's already got enough detailing. And then let's go ahead and add in a wrinkle here, a wrinkle there. Yeah. And we need to inflate the around the legs a little. I'm going to move up so we can see. We need to drop this down a lot. There we go. And we need to increase that a lot. There we go. Hide the back of the hide that, and hide that. Okay. Wait a minute, I hid that. There we go. The reason we're doing this is it doesn't look like tights. It doesn't. Again, it doesn't need a lot of detailing. We just don't want it to look like tights. Then we're going back to slash. We're using the add for this, and we're going to kind of come in. And then we're going to use the subtract a little bit stronger and draw in a little bit too high. Underneath these wrinkles. So that we have a nice feel. There, that's all we need there. And he's already looking a lot better just with those couple of wrinkles. Now this guy, no. Gotta hide him and make this visible and hide the actual body, because what we're going to do to him. And let's hide the rest of it. And down to here. Frame. Zoom. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the orb crack brush. Shrink it. And we're going to have to turn on lazy mouse for this, and you'll see why. We're going to be making mostly straight lines. So we need a high lazy mouse radius. And what we're going to do is first we need to go to geometry and subdivide it. It's a pretty low poly. That'll do. And then we're going to draw on divisors between these strips. And since the upper part of the strips aren't visible, really, that's too narrow. We don't need to worry about being too accurate on the top. And then one here, and then one in between. Then we're going to layer. Increase that a lot. And turn off lazy mouse. And we're going to make little actually that's too many. And we're adding these little studs, which are on the drawing. I'm not doing it to the sleeves because I felt that was a bit much. It's already going to be one heck of a busy fig. No, they're starting to get a little, yeah, that's where they're getting too low, too high. Okay, and then let's come across here. And let's make sure that they don't go too large. We're going to make sure that we've got the jacket visible. And edit. Yes, excellent. So let's go ahead and make everything visible. Okay. The only thing left is, can you say it with me, guys? The hands! So, let's go back to inflate. And let's zoom in on the hands. Is that about the right size? Yeah. Alright. And define these fingers and inflate the inside of the finger. Okay, and in here. Alright, that's one hand, and then the last hand. Then we're gonna, just for the hell of it, since it actually came out, I still have 9 minutes to go on the basic show, I might add in some detailing on the cutlass's guard. Like a leaf or something. And I gotta hide the cutlass so that I can actually do the inner fingers. Okay, now geometry, we need to subdivide it a couple times. Oh, lower res, delete higher, delete lower. Alright, the reason why I said a leaf pattern is he is, in fact, a ranger. So, he needs something on the outside of this guard. And once we do that, we're done. Orb cracks. I needed it about a 12. No, 14, because I keep forgetting that it ends up smaller. And we're going to turn off lazy mouse and reduce this back to about there. And just to... Nope, we need it stronger. Yeah, there we go. And a little bit larger. Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do is... Actually, we're going to go ahead and... make it a wolf. Okay. Now we make this visible. And we're going to give it one layer of subdivision. Delete lower. And we're going to dynamesh it at 512. The reason for this is because we want to Alright, now we're going to go all the way back up to boss body. And we're going down to merge down. And we're going to merge down a few times until we get it all together. Zoom out. Come up a bit. And here is our dual wielding ranger. Alright. And I don't need this anymore for tonight. Oh boy. He came out really nicely. Wow. I'm impressed with it. Wow, I did well. Okay. Now the next thing that we got to do is we got to dynamesh him. Dynamesh. Actually, there's one more thing we need to do. And I can probably do it without... Oh. Let's move those out of the way. I can probably do it without the mouse, without the stylus. But we need to go ahead and... And then we need to go around the eyes. There. Make them a bit more distinct. And we have our finished figure. So we go to the plugin. We go to the plugin. We hit that little circle so it comes over here and we scroll down. Decimation Master. And we're going for 100,000 triangles. Here's hoping it does well. And it's doing it excellent. It's going from 1.6 million polygons to 100,000 and 111. And there we go. And then not to actually do anything with it, but just so we can get a nice little turnaround on the show itself, because it came out so nicely. There we go. Excellent. So now, let's go ahead and export this as Dual Ranger Ben. So that's his name, Ranger Ben. And I'm going to go ahead and with that, I'm coming back to the screen. It's a very basic pose. I mean, he's just standing there holding two swords, one slightly higher than the other. And he could be advancing, he could be defending, he could be standing there intimidating. But yeah, that's the basics. Now you'll notice that, like for example, the hair. Those hair locks were a lot thicker than I normally do. That's because, you know, it's a different style of hair. You got to be careful when printing it, because those locks will have problems printing. Excuse me. Anyway. And I just had the darn thing go psh on me again. So, and of course, right as I finish, got my little buddy. Well, what do you think, little buddy? Was that a good one? Carlton. Was that a good one? Yeah. Everyone say hello to Carlton. Yeah, it's the kitty. Hey. Yeah. So we got it sculpted. After I get off, I'm gonna be. Yes. He loves his daddy. Anyway, after I get off, I'm going to be putting him on the printer because game is tomorrow night. And I want him printed overnight and then primed in the morning so that I can hand him the primed figure. Yes. Okay, come on, Carlton. I gotta put you down for right now. Okay. So anyway, that was tonight's show. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I actually got it done sooner than I expected. Yay! And, oh, just to show you, I'm trying a new variant on zenithal priming. Basically what it is, it's, you know, this is how I paint. I grab one of these old apple barrel paints, or folk art, whatever, and I use blue tack. Well, it's actually white, but it's blue tack to hold it on. Now what I've done, this is a figure I sculpted earlier, not online, is I have primed him a medium gray, and then I've given him a wash with black ink, thinned down with a bit of medium and some distilled water and such. Once it's fully dry, because it's still not dry, the medium really retards the paint. I'm going to dry brush him again with the medium gray, and then once I've dry brushed him, I'm going to take him back outside and give him a top-down spray of white. So for the most part it's zenithal priming, but instead of having a black undercoat it's gray, and it's not all of the shadows are black. Well, so that was tonight's show. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to log out of here. So I'm going to do is I've got my hand, and I'm going to do my usual, and then Thursday night I'll be back in with another sculpt. We've got quite a few players in the game, and I'm not going to do miniatures for everyone, just the ones that are consistent players, which means about 8. Which means I have another 2.5 weeks. So that's a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, and 1. Good night, all.